Mall of America. For more than 30 years, it has been a retail leader and an international destination, and it remains the largest mall in the U.S. Not to mention, it welcomes millions of guests from around the world. It's huge, but it's also so much more. In this podcast, you're going to hear the real stories of how it started and why it continues to thrive. You'll hear about challenges we faced along the way and what you can learn from them. We will feature guests and experts from all walks of life and business, and along the way, you'll laugh, learn, and maybe even change the way you look at things. So if you're a fan of the mall, a brand new visitor, an entrepreneur, or a dreamer, prepare to dive deep into so much more. This podcast is presented by the Bloomington Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Hello and welcome to So Much More, a Mall of America podcast. I am Jill Renslow. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer here at Mall of America and have some special guests. So get ready. This is a fantastic show. So first off, I'd like to introduce you to Carrie Charleston. She is one of our VPs of leasing here at Mall of America and has been in the leasing business for 20 years, 9 of them at Mall of America, focusing in on bringing new restaurants and food concepts to MOA. She is our resident foodie, so we're constantly going to Carrie for her advice on where to dine and check out the new places. And she has worked with Kam, who you're going to meet just shortly, in doing some concepts here at Mall of America. And so that brings us to our guest today, a real entrepreneur at heart. He owns multiple restaurants, including 3 right here at Mall of America. CRAVE, Burger, and Cowboy Jack's has recently branched into a retail offshoot, which we're excited to learn more about, and truly shares our passion for business and so much more. So please welcome Kam Talebi with us today, along with Carrie, and so excited for this conversation because we're going to talk about restaurants, we're going to talk about retail, and so much more. So Kam, why don't you kick us off by sharing why Mall of America? Why did you choose the mall for a place to launch your restaurant?
Before you answer, you have to tell us about the napkin story, because that's the best. The napkin
the
story,
napkin story.
Yes.
Well, the journey started. It was sort of like this, almost this kind of a building, and in the basement of Mall of America, and we had opened up our first CRAVE at the Galleria, and here comes this charismatic guy that says, "Hey, I want to meet with you," and so I meet with the family and the ownership and
the family being the Ghermezians.
And Don back then, he was, gosh, I feel like a grandpa now. He was a young guy, and we had a great conversation. We had fun together. We probably spent 90% of the time just talking about history, and then Raph takes out a napkin and he says, "Well, here's a deal, and we want you in here." And I took my pen and sharpened it and moved around, and we both did our negotiations, and here we are. What is it? 2000,
I think that was
almost 14 years later.
That's fantastic.
And we're still having fun. We still this will and always be my baby of a location, and we, everybody told me when we did this, "Are you crazy to go on the 3rd level of Mall of America? What are you thinking?" And it's our busiest location, and we love it here. So that napkin was good to me.
Well, I don't know how many napkin deals you continue to do, Carrie. Hopefully there's not too many.
We try to do them as much as possible.
I love it. But it truly shows the heart of our ownership. That when they know that something's right, they want to get it done, and they want to work with the owner and the visionary of what's possible here, because you have been a home run for us here at the mall. You're now a staple. And I remember when you guys first opened, we really appreciated your innovative nature and willingness to do what it took to build your brand. And it was the $5 off vouchers that were just something that we could use to market.
Standing outside of the theaters.
It was fantastic, but everything that we did, and it was just like, wow, it wasn't, 10% off. It was $5, and it drove a ton of business and awareness right out of the gate. But we just, ever since that day, just really appreciated your innovative nature and your entrepreneurship that you had here at the mall.
We love it here. Obviously, we started with CRAVE, and continue to expand the footprint, and we're having great success, and listen, I mean, it's amazing how the mall has continued to evolve, and you never feel stale, and that's a testament to you guys, ownership, and it feels special to be here.
So what was the tipping point that brought you to the newer restaurants beyond CRAVE?
Yeah.
What brought you into Burger and Cowboy Jack's?
Well, I mean, certainly we got to learn more and more about the customer at the Mall of America, and felt that, we can deepen the offering and give the customers another experience to have. And the one thing we've always had in our DNA when you look at restaurants is to create an experience, right? And you look at CRAVE, certainly has a different experience than a Cowboy Jack's and a Burger. So we hit all walks of life, and whether it's fast casual through Burger or again more casual through Cowboy Jack's and our partnership with the Cowboy Jack's team and the CRAVE, which is our staple.
Yeah.
So time flies.
It does.
I mean, as I was driving up here, I said, "Holy buckets! It's been 15 years, and blink of an eye."
It is crazy.
And I still remember, you open up and you're like, "Oh my God, are people going to come?" And I remember taking a picture of a line going out the door for opening, VIP opening, and it was crazy. And it's never stopped.
It's fun.
Well, we love having you here. And what I think is interesting, and I would love to hear the story about how you shifted gears, because I learned recently that you started actually with an IT degree, or that's some of your educational background, and you were more in the computer side of the world with IT. How did you make that shift to be a restaurateur? I'm truly
what
curious.
in the heck? You must be a crazy son
Well,
of a gun.
I love it because
to
people
go
make
from-
career shifts all the time, and it's kind of like, what was it that made that shift
It's a
for
good
you?
question. I mean, it's a question that I'm always asked, right? And I was not a techie. I was always the business guy behind tech. And I worked for corporate America. I had a CFO position and chief operating officer position, but my heart was always to be on my own. So when I felt like, okay, I've got enough experience, I'm going to go on my own. I left a big company that back then that we sold our technology company to, and started, with my partner, a small little tech company that was in a townhouse with 4 people. And 4 programmers. And that was during the good old tech days where you just find 2 or 3 great programmers, you're golden. And we were lucky, and we built a company that eventually we sold to Microsoft, and then did another one that I sold to Cox Enterprises. And I, part of it was, tech is evolving, and it was a business that certainly, wears you down, because today you've got something great, and tomorrow it's outdated. But I was fortunate enough to be able to do what I did with the 2 that we had, and so it was really a fluke that we got into the restaurant business. We'd invested in a restaurant that did great, but we weren't involved in operating it, and so as it evolved, we realized, hey, we want to do this on our own. And we happened to be walking and see a site, and we said, my goodness, this could be, what we want to do, and that's how CRAVE started. And but technology was obviously it was a platform to be able to learn business skills that I've applied to the restaurant world. I'm not, I didn't know anything about restaurants outside of having the right team, having the right vibrancy, fun, energy, menu, and I've always been blessed with a great team to execute, and I think that's been the formula for us in surviving in this business, and doing well. So it's all about my team.
Well,
it's all about my team.
I love it.
Yeah.
And survival has not been easy over the last few years. And not everybody can do it. So you obviously have excellent business acumen that you've learned a lot. And
we've shed some tears together.
yes, no. So I would love to hear from both of you. I mean, with the last couple of years, it's not easy to run a business. It's not easy to run a restaurant with a lot of frontline employees, a lot of part-time employees. Talk a little bit about those challenges. And now as we're moving forward, where are you focused? Carrie, what are you hearing from other restaurateurs about not only at Mall of America, but just in the industry of the challenges that they're facing?
Right. Well, we definitely had some challenges, but we overcame them, which was fantastic. Restaurants are the fabric of our communities, and they suffered so much, not only during the pandemic, but, they have a lot of challenges right now with labor and food costs and robotic things that are happening in the industry. And there's just so much that's changed, especially over the last 15, 20 years. That it's just a lot different than it once was. And you obviously can attest to that.
It's the one thing that I've learned about the restaurant industry is it's always evolving, right? And the trajectory of evolution has taken off in the last 2 years. And a lot of it had to do with COVID and what it did to the industry. And frankly, it drove a lot of people outside the industry. I mean, there was a fear and trepidation of working and this and that. And so we lost a lot of people to construction and this sector. So there's been a shortage of labor, and that we're all trying to sort of navigate our business models around. But you can't lose for our space, you can't lose, that customer experience, right? So whereas some people are lucky to be able to automate with AI and, automation and machinery, we can't do that. So we have to be smart. Once again, it revolves to having great people. My secret sauce, honestly, it's the culture. Right? We have a family culture in our business. We love our employees. We take care of our employees, and our turnover is, I hate to say it, sort of non-existent. People stay with us, and when you have that stability, it passes to the customer, right? So culture has been core to, what we believe in, and I think what's made us successful. There are challenges. I mean, finding great people is tough, right? And so you constantly, are looking to invest in, what you can do to retain your people, invest in people, education and flexibility and all that goes around having happy employees. And so we've so far been able to fight a good battle. But the industry is certainly changing and a lot of innovation, a lot of moving parts and pivoting and everybody's still looking for the art of what's the best way to run a restaurant. But we can't forget at the end of the day, it's a people business for us. And it's all about the people, right? And having fun along the way.
So how does it work for you managing the multiple locations under the same brand umbrella? When you look at CRAVE and your multiple locations, how do you, maybe utilize those resources across multiple properties, but how do you also differentiate those locations to make sure that you can thrive in each one of those geographic regions?
It's interesting because I think it's harder to run a one-off than it is, multi-unit. Because when something goes wrong with one-off, you don't have the bench strength, right? What we find with CRAVE is if, there's a staffing shortage here in this location, we can supplement with others. So once you built that platform of multi-unit, you can leverage a lot of the human capital to be able to make it easier to be able to withstand challenges. And I think that's the one thing that we're blessed with is, we're consistent. We've opted not to have different menus out there. We've really standardized, one look and feel and one guest experience for all of our locations. So cross training and being able to have restaurants help each other is critical to our success and our consistency, right? It does help grow as you look to grow, because again, you've got a pool of talent and we're blessed with people that want to grow, right? And you got to give them opportunities. And if you don't grow, then they're getting stale and we get picked on. And a lot of people come after our employees. And look, as I tell my leadership team, it's great to be able to have an organization that allows people to extend their careers. And if we can't give it to them and we can't provide that to them, it's great for them to go to other, because it's about their evolution, right? We can't please everybody in terms of growth. But that's something we take pride in. We have a lot of people that get sought after. And it's an advancement for them. We're not losing a lot of people I don't like working at Kaskaid or CRAVE. We lose people to, I got a promotion and I'm now a GM of another location, which I take pride in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have created an experience that people can expect and a level of quality and expectation that, when you go to your establishments, you've developed that. And I think it's important because it's not consistent in this day and age with hospitality and what we're living and breathing every single day. It is a challenge for brands to hold on to staff. So kudos to you for developing a culture that your talent wants to stand. Yeah. I think that's great.
And we still have tricks up our sleeves. We continue to look for ways to really, again, create a better guest experience. And, the next evolution for us is really plating and having fun at the table. So we're rolling out, starting actually tomorrow, a lot of fun things to sort of activate the dish presentations and the customer experience at the tables. So
I love it.
I'm excited about that.
Well, dining is entertainment.
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
It
I
is.
love it. Okay,
It is.
so I want to shift gears, and you talk about, how it's important to have multiple locations. It's also important to diversify your portfolio.
Yes.
You've definitely leaned into that and leaned in a little
Yes.
more on the retail side of things. So
Yep.
tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about your newer endeavor and how that's going.
It's really just as spontaneous it was to get in the restaurant business. I was approached by a friend who was in the CBD business, and back then I didn't know anything about CBD, and I always told him are you kidding me? I've got kids, for crying out loud. And I realized that at the end of the day, CBD is very different than cannabis, right? So, and I had knee issues, so he gives me a CBD cream, and I start to use it, and holy buckets, it makes a difference, and I became a believer. So, of course, the first place that I think about in terms of where do we want to do this concept is Mall of America. So she gets a call
So
and
I
she
get the
says,
call, yes.
CB what? CB? No, we have a CB2. No. CBD. And so we launched our CBD brand, New Leaf, at the mall, and it's been a great success, and that has led for us to look at expanding our product line, and so we're launching a new drink, both in terms of cocktails and THC seltzers, under the brand Giggly. So keep
Super
an eye
cute
on
name.
and
So this is your own product line.
this is our own
you
product line.
Okay.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time coming up with a name, and look, you got to have fun.
You
with
didn't
it.
bring any
And,
samples today, I see, so we might need to do this again.
On the next one. We'll bring plenty for everybody. So we're excited. I mean, look, in our business, you got to keep things fresh. You got to always do something that makes you run to work, right? And I'm one of those guys that just love to run to work and keep the mind, going. So diversify is always something that I've been a passion towards, and we've done it with restaurants. We've got multiple brands in the Twin Cities. We've got, we've got Brits, which we acquired. We've got a steakhouse in Butcher's Tail. We've got a Union rooftop with a retractable rooftop. So we've expanded our presence with different menus, different concepts, and we're blessed to be where we are today.
I love it. Well, cannabis was definitely a hot topic at the Capitol this last session. So talk to us a little bit about putting on that political hat and maybe working a little bit with the governor and the legislative leaders on helping moving that needle forward.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's two perspectives, and it is political. And honestly, we took a sideline and said, look, we'll go with what ultimately the state wants to legalize. And the one thing we won't veer from is that we want to be socially responsible. So anything that we do, whether it's in the restaurants, whether it's in our product line, it's not to push the envelope. It's to be socially responsible and make sure at the end of the day we take care of our customers, and that's the route we're taking. There's competition that's pushing the boundaries on dosage, and we're not going to go there. We want a fun brand. We want a responsible brand, and a brand that people just navigate to, and great taste, and I think we've got something special around the corner with Giggly.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting road.
I giggle talking about it, so I'm excited.
I'm curious. Yeah, an interesting road, because the next year and a half, there's not going to be regulation around it. So I think Minnesota is going to learn a lot in the next year and a half.
And we're apparently one of the only states that has this flexibility. And so we're all sort of, it'll be interesting how it evolves, because you've got the growing side, then you've got consumption. So but look, half the country has legalized it. So there's something to be said about, certainly the benefits, and just like alcohol, you just have to be socially responsible, and you can't look at somebody and say you drink, and so, taboo, right? And who am I to discriminate, right? And at the end of the day, we just want to be, again, socially responsible what we do, and we've talked about that with our restaurants, and it's top of mind for us.
Well, you'll have to keep us posted.
Yes,
on
I
all the
will.
lunch. It's great.
So when does it launch?
So we'll probably launch in 60 days, and we'll be in restaurants, and we'll be in liquor stores, and we've partnered with a great distributor, and they're excited. We're excited. We're doing the final R&D on the tastings, and so we have a brand that's it's a wellness brand, so low sugar. There's a lot of benefits that comes with the drink, and so stay tuned.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
later this summer, we
Yeah.
can go check out some giggly.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
I'll bring you to the next podcast, and we'll all drink
Okay,
it and
perfect.
be giggly as we go through the interview.
So to the other entrepreneurs that might be watching and listening to this podcast, what is your advice for them, since you've learned a lot over the years in your different business launches
Yeah.
and management and operation? What would you share for advice for them to keep an eye on?
Yeah, don't stop dreaming. At the end of the day, chase your dreams, and build your organization around good people. There's you can have great menu, you can have great, but at the end of the day, it's great people that make great companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a believer in that, and invest in your people and take care of the people that you have, and that's the best advice I have for them.
I love it.
Just take care of your people. Yeah.
Good advice.
What's next on your list? What do you have on your future roadmap?
It's a good question. It depends if I want to be sane or if I want to be insane. But the insanity part of me says continue to grow, and so we've got a couple of new concepts that we're working on, but really what we've done is 90% of our focus is just taking care of our existing restaurants and taking care of our existing group of employees and family members and just in today's world you got to be careful. You have to be careful. So good decisions, well-researched decisions, and so we're in that stage right now to sort of figure out what's next. But we got a couple of things that
So if you could bring a new restaurant to Mall of America, what would you
that's a
bring?
good question. You put me on the spot.
She's ready to start that napkin time.
You guys, it's funny because I think you guys have done a great job to continue to provide experiences for whether it's restaurants, whether it's on the fast casual side. I don't. It's a tough question. I mean, I think you guys have covered a lot of the bases, and nothing pops into mind outside of. If I ever think about it, you'll be the first. You'll be the first. We've had great. Listen, I'm blessed. I always think back and I'm blessed that conversation took place on a napkin because it really changed the history of me being a restaurateur. It really did. I mean, after we did this, it was like ball of fire and like, oh my gosh, this thing has got plenty of momentum and we've got 12 of them now in 4 different states. And so, it was a catalyst. And, and again, I thank the family to giving a guy that really knew nothing about restaurants a chance. And
look where you are today.
It worked out great.
I love
it. Worked out great.
I love it. Well,
So-
we are rounding down on time, so we like to finish our shows here with little rapid fire
Oh, boy.
questions. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question, all pertaining to the world that you live in,
Yep.
just with short answers so that people can learn a little bit more about you and about
Okay.
your restaurant. So what would you say is your favorite menu item at CRAVE?
You know what? I love our Mexican roll. I'm a big sushi guy, and at the end of the day, that's my favorite.
Love it. What's
Yeah.
the most unusual ingredient you've used in a dish at one of your restaurants?
We use a lot of unusual
unusual.
ingredients, but we use a lot of different spices. So I think for us, it's the combination of different spices, not one specific thing, but combining it and creating a pretty sophisticated taste palette,
Okay.
or an ingredient that is powerful on
Love
the
it.
taste palette.
If you have your choice, sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Sweet. You have a sweet tooth. I like it. Favorite cuisine?
Favorite. I love Indian food.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a favorite of our family and spices and so 9 out of 10 times when we're together as a family, it's let's go get Indian food. So
Love
yeah, very
that
different than
down.
American and sushi.
I love it. What's been your best customer feedback?
I sound like a broken record, but it's compliments for our employees.
I love
We have
it.
a great team, and that to me is the best compliment I could ever have.
So
Right?
when your staff let you in the kitchen, what's been your biggest mistake in the kitchen?
They don't let me.
I didn't know if they let you back there or not.
They don't let me back there. So listen, I can tell you it is a tough business. And again, I'm blessed to have a great team that can execute that kitchen as well as they do. So, and I'd stay out.
How about the most surprising request you have received from a customer?
That's a good question. I don't, we get
Probably
a lot of
hear
questions.
everything under the sun.
We get everything under the sun, early on it was, hey, can you bring it to our house? Can you bring this experience? And that was a great request because it led to our catering division.
For
So
sure.
we got a monstrous catering divisions with weddings and sales once again, we get a lot of unique requests and that we don't have in the restaurant. But again, our employees literally get in their car, drive over, pick it up, bring it back.
Yep.
Right. So in the restaurant world, nothing surprises you.
We'll have to wrap it up with the star power that we have at Mall of America. You have to tell us who's been the most famous person that you have seen dine in one of your restaurants.
We've had athletes have always been a goer for our restaurant. I go back to Michael Jordan. I go back to a lot of the Timberwolves, a lot of football players. So, but Jordan is probably one of the
That's a big one.
He's up there. Yeah.
That is a big
that
one.
we've had.
I love it.
So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we wish you continued success. We appreciate your partnership. Thank you, Kam. Thank you, Carrie, for joining us today.
you.
And thank you all for listening and watching so much more. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of So Much More. If you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you find your favorites, including Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts. And you can also watch a video cast on YouTube. Go to podcast.mallofamerica.com to leave a review, ask a question, or give us an idea for the show. Until next time, thanks for listening. So Much More is presented by the Bloomington Convention and Visitors Bureau, the official destination marketing organization for the city of Bloomington, Minnesota. Before your next trip to Mall of America, visit bloomingtonmn.org for answers to all your travel questions, deals and packages for hotel stays, and so much more.